Hi, I'm Harrison Wyatt, and in today's video I'm going to be sighting and lighting a campfire, and I'm also going to be doing some basic cooking as well. I'm going to be cooking some sausages and baking some really simple bread. First of all, this is a quick clip in preparation for my fire to make my breadstick. So I'm shaving away the top few layers of this stick that I've found, and I'll also sharpen the other end so that I can plant it into the ground and then rest it over the fire. Cleaning away the bark like this adds an element of hygiene for where I'm going to be wrapping my dough. I also chamfer the end so that it's easier to pull it away. All of these wood shavings that I've carved off aren't going to be going to waste as well, but they'll be helping me light my fire. I can now be seen splitting down some small bits of kindling and then carving them with my sheath knife into feather sticks, ready for lighting the fire. This is a great technique to have and a super one to be taught in outdoor sessions, as it teaches great hand-eye coordination, dexterity, and patience. So as you can see, I'm in a nice big large open area with not too much canopy coverage straight above me. Obviously I'm going to be keeping my fire to a minimal size but large enough to safely and hygienically cook on. But yeah, I've already prepped my sort of wood collection here. So I've got some feather sticks and some shavings, some tiny matchstick twigs that I've picked up, not off the ground but fallen, so they are dead dry wood. I've also got some slightly larger sticks, moving all the way up into some silver birch bark, which again I've mentioned in another video is full of fantastic flammable oils. I then got some kindling that again I've salvaged and let dry for a couple of weeks just in our wood store here. I then got some larger branches all the way up to a couple of small logs that I'm going to be hopefully cooking on, and then some larger ones that I'm going to be resting potentially the frying pan on as well. Some other factors that we need to think about when siting somewhere for a campfire is making sure that we clear the area that we're planning on using, and also looking at the types of earth that we're cooking and burning on, because there are certain types of plants that can light and the fire can actually go underground as well. So we've got to make sure that we're working in a nice safe environment. I have got water close to hand, along with my burns kit that's a full kitted out first aid kit, and some gloves for if I'm moving anything that's sort of metal and hot like the frying pan, and then I am next to the stream as well, so I'm in close range should anything get out of hand. As for running this kind of session with a group, you can actually see behind me we have more sort of semi-permanent fire pits that have a slab of concrete in the base of them and then wood around. But we have also run sessions where we've got a fire in the center here, because those fire pits can effectively be utilized as a second use as benches, so that they can sort of get involved at observing, and then they can start to get in sort of introduced into the activity as well. Quick disclaimer for part of this fire lighting and cooking video: unfortunately my little mic had died, the battery had run out, so I'm going to take it as a blessing in disguise, and I'll speed up quite a lot of the clips of the video, and then I'll put some audio over the top to explain what it is that I'm explaining and what it is that I'm doing in the video as well. First of all, I'm just showing here with a mess tin and some cotton wool the skill of using a flint and steel that we can teach early learners to build muscle memory and that hand-eye coordination. I now clear the space where I'm going to be building my fire of leaves and twigs. I set up with my smallest pieces of kindling with a little bit of cotton wool, and I use my flint and steel to light it. I also draw a circle around to make sure I've dampened the area due to the dry weather we've had recently. As the flame starts to burn, I carefully layer the smallest twigs over the top of the flame, making sure to not smother it. I discuss the fire triangle: heat, oxygen, and fuel. The fuel is the objects of wood that I've collected, oxygen by adding my own breath as well as making sure it's aerated, and the heat is that initial spark from the flint and steel. The heat will continue to build as long as I feed the fire. I also discuss the respect position, making sure that we're kneeling so that I can step away in a case of an emergency. While still keeping an eye on the fire, I'm now starting to prep my bread with a tub of flour, some milk powder, and slowly adding a little bit of water whilst mixing it and kneading it with my hand. Adding it slowly, I can then work it into a desired dough that I want ready to wrap around my breadstick that I'd prepped earlier. This simple bread making technique is fantastic when working with groups. It's really accessible and it's great for them to get their hands on and get involved in getting messy. Whilst I'm doing this, I'm keeping an eye on the fire, and I'm also talking about how much fuel I'd collected. You don't want to be collecting so much fuel that you build a large fire that's then taking a long time to extinguish. You only want to be utilizing what's necessary. You can see there as well that I just burnt away any bacteria as well that's on my pre-carved breadstick. I wrap the dough around it and then mount it over a log at the right sort of height so as to bake but not burn my dough. Having built up this small fire now, I'm quite happy that it's retaining its heat and I'm able to add the last few logs and side supports ready to build a stable base for my frying pan. It's worth noting here that I do use my sheath knife to unpack these sausages, and of course, having made contact with raw meat, I ensure that I clean my knife off. Over the next 10 or so minutes, I just kept an eye on the sausages, making sure to rotate them, as well as my dough, as it was slowly becoming a nice golden brown on that stick as I rotate it over the flames. You can see here with this close-up view that my dough has now really become a nice golden brown and it's baked nicely onto that breadstick. I sterilised my knife, ready to check that the sausages are cooked through. Of course, hygiene is paramount, especially when you're responsible for other people as well. I clear the space to the side of my fire so that I can place down the hot metal of the frying pan. I then peel away my bread from my breadstick that makes a perfect bat for my sausages. Now, having completed the cooking that I wanted to achieve, I'm simply going to enjoy my food and also no longer feed the fire and let it burn down. It's at this point that I discuss the idea of adding a scientific element to our fire sessions, not only talking about the fire triangle, but also how the metal of a frying pan can conduct heat and cool down quickly. Now I begin to break down my fire, rolling the support logs out to the side and irritating the embers so that the flames disappear. Looking at where the hottest ashes are, I want to focus some water there, but I spiral in from the outside, working in towards the middle where the hottest part of the fire would be. You can see that I get rid of the majority of the white color and most of it turns black, but I once again irritate it, making sure that I flip over the largest parts of wood and ember. I continue to let it cool and pack away most of my gear as I monitor it and make sure that it doesn't reignite. All in all, it was a really great fire cooking session and I look forward to doing it again soon. One of the takeaways to have from it though is that I'm lucky enough to have that space where I can leave that sort of temporary fire in the form of just ash and burnt away fire. If I was on land that I was sharing or perhaps had just borrowed, then I'd potentially want to leave the fire for longer to burn down to as small as possible. Then as I extinguish it, I'm reducing the evidence of that temporary fire.